thoughts on the World Cup. This is the first time that I actually watched the World Cup because I'm not too into soccer, but my husband is. And honestly, going into it, I did not think it was going to be interesting at all. I was kind of dreading it a little bit just because I'm not super into watching sports. I like playing sports, but I don't love watching sports. But I was actually really surprised by the whole setup and how much I ended up enjoying it. So let's get into my thoughts on the World Cup as a normal bystander who's not that into soccer or sports in general. Okay, so my first thought is, this is partially because my husband believes this, but I can see it. So before the World Cup started, I feel like a lot of people felt like the games were rigged, and people were being paid off to ultimately lose the games. And originally going into it, we were kind of betting on Portugal, and Portugal got disqualified pretty early on, I would say. So we were like, okay, this doesn't make sense. But we later felt like it was rigged for Argentina, and we felt like this just because, Messi and the president of the World Cup are very close. They have been for a while. And essentially it just seemed like a lot of the games that Argentina was playing weren't necessarily fair for the position they were in. Like, they're usually seen as one of the bigger and more significant teams, and they seem to be playing against a lot of the underdog teams, which just felt a little bit unfair. And so we kind of ended up just feeling like Argentina was essentially the one that was supposed to win at the end. And I feel like that was actually later confirmed with the finale, the final game, where Argentina, the blue colors, ended up hold on. I'm blanking on the team that they played against. Who won? France won, right? Mbappe won, right? Hold on. Spain. I'm so sorry. Okay. I know my stuff. I don't actually know my stuff, but I should know it a little bit better. I just had a baby 10 days ago, so I'm blaming that on mom brain. But Spain won. And it's weird because with the last game, the colors of, so you know how they celebrate and they send all of that color up into the air for the winner. At the finale, it was blue, even though Spain doesn't have any blue in their flag. So that just felt a little bit rigged. They were anticipating that Argentina was going to win, even though Spain won, and there was nothing that really made it seem like Argentina was going to win. Spain ended up getting multiple different goals that were disqualified or didn't count, and I don't think that was fair. I think it was just fully up to the refs' discretion, but I don't think it was really fair. So I feel like at the end of the game they should have had 3 goals and they ended up having 1 goal. But Argentina was slacking. They just weren't super impressive in that game. So it's not like the people were anticipating it because of how they were performing in the moment. So anyways, that was a little bit are we paying teams off to get disqualified? And I kind of felt that way with the last, I think it's Norway who has the Holland guy, I think. Let me confirm. Yeah, Norway. And I ended up getting more context for that later. Their team ended up getting really sick for the last game, so of course they weren't performing the best. But in their last game, the one where they got disqualified, it felt a little bit like they were half-assing it, which wasn't really my favorite because they had been so impressive up to that point. And then Holland didn't seem like he was stepping up. I thought it was personally maybe somebody had said something previously to him like dismissing that he is contributing to the team and their success. So I was like, maybe he's being petty. Maybe he's like, fine, I want to apply myself and you guys are gonna lose. It's like, I could see that happening, you know? Like, that would be fair. But the context later was that like half of the team was super sick from what they ate. And like, there's like a bug going around right now. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think that game was in Miami, if I'm not mistaken. So that makes sense. But it was a little bit like, is the game rigged? Like, what's going on? Anyways, so I think it was rigged for Argentina, for Messi. I don't think they anticipated that Spain would win, but I'm glad that at the last game Spain did win, because it's like, even if you pay people a certain amount of money or threaten people, like, they're still gonna show up if their heart really is in the game, and we got to see that, so that was cool. Okay, so from that point, it kind of segues into like, I think Messi is a bit overrated, and I know he has so many fans, and I know so many people really love him, but I think as like a first-time watcher of the World Cup, I think he was such a baby. I think also soccer players are such babies. Oh my gosh, this was crazy. Like, watching how many like fake falls and trips and injuries happened. It was like, like we're watching a play, just so performative. Anyways, so I think Messi, like, I think he is impressive. I also think he had his like glory days. I think he had a time where he was like really showing up and like getting after it and like doing really crazy goals. But I think, at least in this World Cup, it seemed a little bit like he was just, and I think a lot of the Argentina team was kind of like, they were just acting like little bitches, excuse my language, but it was a little bit like that's not cute, you know? But I did see like a lot of those like fake falls, and it was entertaining for sure. Like, it was just one of those things where like, I think also Argentina plays so dirty. Like, they were intentionally like tripping people and pushing people and shoving people when it was like it was unwarranted ultimately, in my opinion. And the refs were just like, So I think that Argentina does have a lot of favor in the World Cup. I think also Messi has a lot of favor, so a lot of the things that he was doing that might have not been acceptable for other players, it seemed a little bit like those things were dismissed because it's like, oh, well, it's Messi, and all of the refs had like a huge fat crush on him or whatever. So that was interesting. I also, I think a different point is that like this season, or like this World Cup, like all of the games were really interesting. Like, I think the friendly matches, we didn't really pay that much attention to them because it was like whatever, but I think as we got into the more like aggressive games where teams were going to get eliminated, like I loved Cabo Verde. I think their team was amazing. I loved Ivory Coast. I'm so sad that they got eliminated. I started rooting for the France team. I also started rooting for the Norway team. I think Mbappe and Holland were incredible. I think they're so interesting to watch because they're really, really talented, and I think they're going to be the next generation of stars. Sorry, I'm not whispering. I'm like talking a little louder. Sorry, guys. I'm just like, I care about this way more than I thought I would. But yeah, so I think that like those games were way more engaging. And even, what was the other one? Hold on. There's like a small little part of South America. Uruguay and Paraguay. Uruguay, I think, Uruguay. I was so excited about Uruguay. I feel like they were really talented, so that was cool to see. I'm so sad that they got eliminated. England also really stepped up, and my dad is English, and he's always been like an England soccer fan. I think he watches the Manchester team. Like, I think he really loves the Manchester team, if I'm not mistaken. It's either that one, the Albion team. He really loves the Albion team. Sorry, there's the Albion team, and like he's always been like up at 5 a.m. to watch the soccer games, and like those are more of like the league games. That's what he stays like tuned into. But I've always been like, it's sports, like it's not gonna be that interesting. But yeah, it was really interesting, and the England team was really talented, and I think it was just great to be able to watch that and like have like a newfound respect for the participants in the World Cup. Also, a different thing is we were watching it on Telemundo because my husband's Spanish, or he's Venezuelan, so he speaks Spanish, and it was the funniest thing. Like, I don't speak Spanish, which is like something I should work on, and my baby is gonna be bilingual minimum, and like Carlos is talking to him already in Spanish, and like that's something we really want. So I need to like really get started on that. I gotta Duolingo that. But it was really interesting because Telemundo, like all of the announcers and commentators, they talk really fast, and like most of it I can't understand. But when somebody scores, they always say like golazo, goal, for like a minute straight, and it's the funniest thing in the world. And that was just something that I had like a new appreciation for, of like their hearts in it. Like they really care about this. Or like when we were watching the England game, they would say like hurricane, hurricane, and I was like, what hurricane are they talking about? And that was just the funniest thing, because Carlos was like, no, it's like a player whose name is Harry Kane, but the way that they said it, and they like the game was in Miami, so I was like, oh, it's their hurricane, like what's going on? But anyways, it was just like extra entertaining. The next thing is, it's interesting that some of the fans, okay, so if you don't know the World Cup, or if like you weren't following the World Cup, essentially they do their national anthem for both teams that are playing at the beginning, and it's just showing like respect to the nation. And we noticed that like the behavior towards some of the national anthems weren't really super polite. Like I think that there are a lot of countries who really do care about winning to the point where like they're okay with disrespecting the other team. And so like even during some of the national anthems, and this is something that I wasn't super impressed by, and it kind of showed like like I don't appreciate that about the nations that were, or at least the people who were at each game, but they were like booing at the national anthems of the other team, which I think is completely disrespectful. But that was something to see, if like there are some countries as a whole that are just like they're in it so much to the point of being disrespectful to any opponents, which like I guess it's partially human nature, but it was interesting to see, and a little bit like left a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. Okay, my next thing is, okay, so I did not understand the scale of viewership, because here in America we have the Super Bowl, and that's our big thing. Like Super Bowl, everybody tunes in, you know, even if you're not a big soccer person. Like I'm not, I watch it sometimes for the commercials because that's entertaining. It's so interesting. There's always a halftime show. It's always incredible. The singing performances, okay, so the scale, back to what I was saying, the scale. Like for the Super Bowl, it's not even close to the amount of viewers who watch the World Cup. And I think for the World Cup, across all of the matches, it's 5 billion views, which is insane. That's like more than half of the people in this world, which is crazy if you think about like access to everything, you know? So that was really, really incredible to recognize that like the Super Bowl is like here and the World Cup is like here, you know? I don't know the number of views for the Super Bowl. I should look that up. I should have had that before now, but I know, like my husband explained it to me, and he was like, yeah, it's like, I think it's 1 million versus like, no, maybe it's more than 1 million. Let me Google that. Okay, definitely more than 1 million. So it says the Super Bowl attracts about 125 million to 127 million views for a single US broadcast. In contrast, a single FIFA World Cup final reaches roughly 1.5 billion people globally, with the entire month-long tournament engaging an estimated 5 billion people across total cumulative media views. So 125 million versus 5 billion. And like 125 million, that's still a decent amount, that's a lot. But the fact that the World Cup reaches up to like 5 billion people for the entire tournament, that's insane. That's so crazy. Or views, so it's probably repetitive people. But still, that's insane. So that was really cool. I didn't realize it though, because here's the thing. With the Super Bowl, we have the incredible halftime performances and everybody tunes in. Like here, it's a big deal. Like we just had Bad Bunny and that was an incredible performance. And like we always, like we've had Beyonce, we've had Rihanna, we've had so many different like big musicians who are incredible performers. And so in my mind, I was thinking like, oh, that's the thing, you know, like if you're getting, like if the commercials are so expensive and like they're always the best commercials and the performers are incredible and like some of the biggest people in the world, at least like from an American's point of view, I might be completely wrong, but from an American's point of view, we have some of the most incredible performers worldwide. And so like that seems like a big deal, you know? But the fact that those people are performing at the Super Bowl but not at the World Cup, and the people that were performing at the World Cup were a little bit underwhelming. That was really interesting to see. Like they have budget, you know, like these teams are earning millions and millions of dollars per game. So why would we not get some of the best performers? Like I don't know any of those, like except for Shakira, I don't know any of the performers by name, and maybe that's just because I'm not, you know, I'm not like in with the trends or like up to date on the trends. Maybe those people are really big deals in some locations, but I feel like just I wasn't as impressed as I thought I was going to be for the scale of viewership that is watching the World Cup, you know, if that makes sense. So anyways, ultimately that's all of my points. Like I think this World Cup was very interesting. I think we're definitely gonna end up raising our kid to watch soccer. And maybe he's gonna be a professional soccer player down the road. We might, you know, after watching the World Cup, I could see that happening and I wouldn't be upset about it. And yeah, anyways, like comment down below if you disagree or if you agree, or if you think there's anything that like I missed the point of, or if you have any insights of like new perspective that would be valuable. I'd love to know what you guys think, and I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for my thoughts on Argentina and Messi, and that's okay. We don't have to agree, but I would love to have a conversation in the comments with you guys and know your thoughts. So stay tuned for the next video. We post on Wednesdays and Fridays. This has been so fun, and I'll see you guys next time.